All right, let's talk about something that's about to blow up during the next couple weeks. DoorDash alcohol deliveries. You're going to see way more of these orders coming through during Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve. The question, though, is are they actually worth accepting? I'm breaking it all down today and their legal risks you're taking on. And I'm going to give you my honest verdict on whether you should enable this feature heading into the busiest drinking season of the year. You need to make the right call for your own business. Let's start with what these orders have potentially to pay. So DoorDash alcohol deliveries have a base pay just like regular deliveries of $2 to $10 per order. Here's the problem. There is no premium pay for alcohol deliveries compared to regular food orders. Honestly, DoorDash treats them the same way. You're getting the same base pay structure for an order that carries a significantly more liability and sometimes time investment. What drivers are reporting in the real DoorDash world is you might see $4 for 5 miles, $6.25 for 4 miles, and a lot sometimes are upside down orders with long distances. The only time the math actually starts to work on these orders is if you actually get some of the good payouts. There are some because I have done them, but a DoorDash driver makes like $15 to $30 per hour, depending on your market. But when you factor in the extra time for alcohol deliveries, which I will also get into in a minute, you're looking at potentially dropping below the average unless the tip is substantial. Here's the holiday factor though. Yes, you'll see higher order volume if you have this toggled on. More parties, more gatherings, more people ordering alcohol for their celebration. But higher volume sometimes doesn't automatically mean higher pay per order. You could end up taking low paying, high mileage alcohol runs, especially if you're trying to maintain acceptance rate just because they're flooding your screen with some of these offers. And that's where drivers sometimes get in trouble, especially if you're trying to maintain the tier system. I just don't want to let the busy season tricking you into taking alcohol deliveries if they're not worth it in your market. Now, let's talk about why these orders eat up more of your time than regular deliveries. First, you got the distance issue. So alcohol orders frequently take you outside your normal dashing zone because people are ordering alcohol from stores that aren't even close to their homes. You're driving to liquor stores or grocery stores at the edge of your area, and then you might even be delivering further out. That means you're burning gas, you're burning time, and you have to get back to your zone with no guarantee of you're doing it before your dash runs out or getting another order as a return trip. The time investment in alcohol deliveries is 20 to 30% longer than a standard food delivery. You're asking why? Well, it's the ID verification process, and you have to make sure that they're actually present when you do this. This is the two-step system. You have to scan the customer's ID through the DoorDash app, and you have to visually verify that the person matches the ID and clearly that they're over 21 and they're not intoxicated. And here's where it gets messy. The common issues drivers report, and I can attest to this: expired IDs that won't scan, damaged IDs where the barcode doesn't work, customers who don't have their ID ready. In my state that I'm doing, if you go to get your driver's license, they give you a piece of paper. It's not a real photo ID if you're waiting for your new one to come in. That has happened to me. And straight up app scanning failures. When any of these happen, you can't complete the delivery. You have to return the alcohol to the store, especially if the customer doesn't come to the door and you start the timer. And what happens then? You have to drive all the way back to do the return. That's happened to me before too. This is the part DoorDash doesn't emphasize enough, and it's the biggest reason I am telling you to always think twice when you're considering doing alcohol delivery. When you deliver alcohol, you are legally responsible for verifying the customer is 21 years of age or older. Not DoorDash, you. Let me give you a real example that went viral. So back in June of last year in the Seattle area, a DoorDash driver delivered alcohol to an 18-year-old in what turned out to be a sting operation. The liquor store got fined. The driver faced consequences. And guess what? It's not on DoorDash's shoulders. Legally, it's on the store and the driver. Here's what you're required to do by law. Verify the customer is 21 years of age or older using a valid government ID and assess whether the customer appears to be intoxicated or not. If they seem drunk, you are required to refuse delivery. Think about that scenario. Let me know if this has actually happened to you. You just drove to their house, they already paid for their alcohol, they're tipsy, they're expecting the order, and you have to tell them no. It could lead to a confrontation just waiting to happen. The consequences if you mess this up, though, is DoorDash account can deactivate you. Fines can vary by state, and you could be potentially charged criminally depending on the severity of the issue. If that alcohol ends up in the hands of a minor or contributes to an incident, you can be held liable. That's so scary. One more thing, you're also responsible for checking that the customer isn't already visibly intoxicated. You have to see it. How are you supposed to make that judgment call in like 30 seconds at someone's doorstep? And if you refuse the delivery because they seem drunk, you're now in an argument with someone who's been drinking and is upset about not getting their alcohol. During the holidays, when people are partying, this scenario becomes way more likely. This is not a position you want to be in for an $8 payout. Here's the thing with me and alcohol, and this is just my opinion and how I work it. A lot of times I don't have it toggled on. I have it toggled on during major holidays, but only during daylight, so I can visibly see the customer that's in front of me, and I can truly assess their coherency and the level of where they're at when they greet me at the door. I feel more comfortable doing it during the day than I ever will at night. Toggling is your best friend, especially if you start getting some of these upside down orders and you're trying to maintain an acceptance rate. The minute that I start seeing a lot of these orders, toggle it right off so I don't have to worry about it. Let's put this all together and look at the actual risks versus rewards. On the reward side, you get a base pay of $2 to $10, potentially 4 decent tips if the customer is generous and orders high dollar alcohol amounts, and possibly return pay if the delivery can't be completed. Honestly, that's really it. On the risk side, you're taking full legal liability for the age verification. You're spending 20 to 30% more time per delivery. You're dealing with potential ID scanning failures. You're driving longer distance, often outside of your zone. You're risking confrontations with intoxicated customers, and you're potentially putting your entire DoorDash account at risk if something goes wrong. A lot of experienced dashers, when it comes to alcohol deliveries, look at the dollar amount first, then they look at the miles, and they really say, is the dollar amount worth the liability, and is it worth the miles, and it is worth the time that it's going to take me to complete some of these orders. Some of them are quick and easy. I've done those before too. It's just a matter of your own comfort level and how you feel when you're doing these types of deliveries. During the holidays, you might think, well, there is more demand, so I should take advantage of this. But here's the reality. More demand also means more problems, also means more customers who have been drinking, more ID issues, more potential things that can go wrong. And when things go wrong with alcohol, the consequences are definitely serious. In order to even do alcohol deliveries, you have to do the certification online through DoorDash if you haven't done that already. But if you compare this to regular food deliveries during the holiday season, you can knock those out 3 or 4 food delivery orders in the time frame. Sometimes it can take you to complete just 1 alcohol delivery. You're not taking on the legal liability when you're doing food delivery and shopping. There's no risk, there's no confrontations, well, unless you get a crazy customer. And unless the payout with alcohol is big, you're making comparable money per hour. So let's talk specifically about what's coming up. Thanksgiving week, Christmas week, New Year's Eve week. These are peak alcohol delivery times. You're going to see these orders flood your screen if you decide to turn these on. So yeah, you'll get more order volume, but here's what you need to know. The order volume definitely will be higher. Some customers will tip well because they're being generous. They're in the holiday spirit. You might see some higher paying orders kind of mixed in, and you might actually see food delivery mixed in with alcohol delivery. The bad is most orders will probably still be the same as food delivery, but sometimes longer distances. You'll be competing with more drivers who have alcohol delivery enabled. Liquor stores will be busier, meaning you might have longer wait times. Customers will be more likely to have been drinking already and increase your risk of having issues at delivery. The ugly, if you deliver to someone who's intoxicated and something happens like a DUI, an incident, anything, and it traces back to your delivery, you're facing some serious consequences during the holidays when you need the income most and you want to be spending time with your family. Is it worth risking your entire DoorDash account for an $8 alcohol delivery order? Here's my take. If you're going to do alcohol deliveries during the holiday season, you need to know what you're doing. You need to go in it with your eyes wide open. And in my opinion, the pay has to be worth doing this. And I know that's hard coming from a platinum dasher. Like I said, the minute I get bad orders, it gets toggled right off. Never have it toggled on during the dark. You might want to avoid taking orders outside of your zone, or even orders to apartment complexes where you really don't know and it might be hard to find, and then you're balancing boxes of alcohol and trying to find some of these crazy apartment deliveries. And be prepared to refuse deliveries if the customer shows any signs of intoxication, even if it means losing that payout. But honestly, for most drivers, the smartest play is to focus on the high volume of regular food orders and shopping orders during the holidays. If you're not comfortable doing this, my opinion is skip alcohol altogether unless you're adventurous. You really have to think, is the dollar amount really worth the headache and the trouble of doing some of these orders? Some of them are great paying. Some of them are easy and they can be done really quickly if everything goes as planned. So I don't want to be completely negative about it. I just want to be real in what you're getting yourself into. If you're an experienced driver who knows your market extremely well, who can be selective and only take some of these high-paying alcohol orders, it's something that you might want to be thinking about, and you have to be comfortable doing these deliveries. It has to make sense to you and your business in doing DoorDash, but you need to go into it with your eyes wide open about everything it takes to do some of these deliveries. If you at all have doubts, disable the alcohol delivery feature and focus on some of the other deliveries DoorDash has to offer. There are better ways to making money during the busiest season of the year than sometimes taking on the liability and hassle of these alcohol deliveries. So let me know, do you do alcohol deliveries? What has been your experience? Or you're like, nope, I am never doing it. Go ahead, drop a comment down below and let me know all about your opinion on whether these are actually worth the risk. I do a lot of DoorDash videos on this channel, and if you're looking to binge watch the very next one, I'm going to suggest this one up next.